Hello. In this part of the chapter, we're going to cover the concept of external references, what's called an XREF in AutoCAD. They're very, very similar to blocks. However, um, they're, I would imagine, a little more powerful than blocks. Typically, X references are when you want to use another file in the current project you're working in and have that other file be the original document of the file that works with your current project. So, for example, if you're working with an architect, as an example, and you're an interior designer, the architect might give you their CAD files, and you want to be careful not to change their CAD files, but put your interior design on top of their CAD file. Now, what will happen is, from time to time, the architect might change their file. They might make updates to their file. So they'll send you a revised copy. If you're using blocks, you would have to go into your file, erase the architect's previous copy of the file, and replace it with a new copy of the file. Now, that's not ideal because you could accidentally move the file on the screen and shift things around, and they not match the original layout. It's much, much easier to keep a separate file and use the concept of an XREF in your project. So, for example, if I go to Insert Command, let's reuse a previous project as if it was an XREF. So, under Insert, here's References. Here's Attach. If I click Attach, I can locate a different file. So, I've started a brand new project, and I'm locating this file here called Hotel Suite XREF. And now it's drafted by somebody else. And hit Open. And this looks like the block menu, where you can basically see here that's going to let you accept the scale, X, Y, and Z. Width and length of the project will stay exactly the same when it's set to 1. If you make these 2, it'll make it twice as big, as an example. Here we're going to specify on screen. So basically, we're going to click on the screen, and that'll determine where to place this external reference, what's called an XREF. And you'll see here they got 2 options, attachment or overlay. So when you bring something in as an attachment, it'll bring that file in, and any X references that file has will also come in with that file. If it's an overlay, it'll just bring in that file and ignore any of the X references from within that file. So we're going to use an attachment, but I doubt that file has any external references of its own. So I found the file here. I'm going to X reference it here, hit OK, and basically pick a place on the screen to place it. I'm going to click here as an example. You'll see here that the file is semi-transparent. Well, it's sort of faded here. And if I were to list it, LI, to get information on it, LI, enter, click, and enter, you'll see here, it says it's a block reference, but it's a special kind of reference because here it says it's an external reference. So it is a collection of items that were drafted, but it was done externally. This file is basically a preview of the file called Hotel XREF. I'm in a file called Drawing Number 1. This file is called Hotel XREF, so I can see Hotel XREF on my screen. So if somebody in your office or somebody you're working with were to change and update the file called Hotel XREF, then when you open up the project, your project, it'll give you a warning that this file has been changed. And if you open it for the first time or after a recent update to the original file, you'll see the latest, greatest update to this file. So if someone added a closet, for example, and you're using that file as an XREF, next time you open up this file called Drawing Number 1, you'll see this file with the closet already in it. So typically, you can't update this file. So typically, you shouldn't update this file because it does not belong to you normally. But there's ways of doing it. Now, you might look at this file and decide, well, my responsibilities are only to work on the bathroom. And so, as an interior designer, I need to lay out some plumbing. I need to maybe add a toilet and some fixtures to the bathroom. I don't really care about the rest of the floor plan. So you might want to hide the rest of the floor plan and only focus on the part of the, the plan that's relevant to you. So I'll use the clip command for that. I'll clip, I'll click on the XREF, and then I'll draw a rectangle. Here it's on. It says new, hit enter, and I will draw a rectangle around. Let's see, it's going to choose a rectangle, hit enter, and then it says specify first corner. I'm going to draw a rectangle around this area. Click there. So basically, it's hiding the rest of the drawing and cropping it off, similar to a viewport in Paperspace. And I'm focusing on this part of the drawing for my purposes, because I don't need to see the entire floor plan. And again, my responsibilities are laying out the interiors of this bathroom. I don't need to update the actual CAD file of the walls per se, at least not at this moment. And that's basically how XREFs function. So again, we've got this file here, and we want to incorporate our interior design into this project that was produced, for example, by an architect. Someone else in the office, someone outside the office produced the floor plan, but your responsibilities are just the interiors. So in this case, I might want to place fixtures within this floor plan. So let's say I'm going to use some blocks. So here we can go to View, for example, and use Design Center. There's another file in the office that has the blocks I need to use in this project. So if I go to View and go to here and open up the Design Center. Design Center remembers the last folder I opened, and it remembered this directory here called Design Center Home Space Planning, for example. And in here, I might find some information that I need for my project. Now, let's say, for example, that these files are not useful to me, and I've got a previous project in the office that has blocks that are useful to me, that has information for hotels. So I would do is I would navigate to the folder that has those files in them. And so here's the file open button, and I basically go to the folder that has those items. So for example, in week 8 folder, I've given you all a file called Hotel Suite Blocks. And that has a bunch of elements inside of it, a bunch of blocks inside of it. So if I open up that file in Design Center, open, and I look here, it's now part of my list, Hotel Suite Blocks, and that file has blocks here. So if I double click, I'm now looking inside the file called Hotel Suite Blocks, all these items that are useful to me in my current project. And so if you look in this file, I can find, for example, a toilet top. Click and hold on your mouse, drag it onto the drawing, let it go. It's now been copied into your file. I can, for example, find a bathtub. Click and hold the bathtub, drag it over here, drop it off. I need a faucet for the bathroom, so click and drag, drop it off. And I probably need a shower head, drop it off. And I need a vanity. So let's see here if they have a vanity. Here's a oval vanity. Click and drag, drop it off. So I can close Design Center. So here are some blocks that are useful to me. Once you copy a block into your project, they become part of your block library. So if you go to Insert, you can basically bring in the blocks into your project here. So if I go to Insert here, under Blocks, you can see here, these are all the blocks that it currently finds in my project. All the blocks I inserted are now part of my block library. So once they've been inserted into my project, I now have access to them if they're not on the screen. Currently, they're on the screen, so no need to use this menu. But this tray shows you a library of all the blocks that are currently available to you if, for example, these were erased. So What I'll do now is I'll simply lay out the bathroom that they suggest here. So I will use the move command, grab this and drag it over to here. RO is rotate. Click and rotate this file from this corner and type 90 degrees. I'll type M for move. I tend to type all my commands. Move this object from this corner to this corner. The toilet goes somewhere along this wall, so I'll move this toilet from the midpoint. So I want to make sure the midpoint is snapped to. If you don't see the midpoint, again, your O snaps are here. You're gonna want to make sure midpoint is selected here, so I can grab the midpoint of that object. So when I move this, I snap to the middle, right there, little triangle, and I can place it along this wall. Now it's going to snap to any location here. It's looking for midpoint snap and endpoint snap. If I want to snap it basically near my mouse, that's a near snap. And here, what I can do is I can tell AutoCAD to override all the other snaps it's looking for and just focus on one of the snaps. In this case here, the snap I'm looking for is a near snap, NEA snap. And you typically don't want that command on at all times. So what I'll do is I will move this, starting over, move this from the middle of that to near my mouse location. Now I can do that by overriding. Right now, in the middle of my typing, I can type no snap by using the first 3 letters of the tool. So for example, if I type NEA, enter, AutoCAD will just look for a near snap. And I move my mouse, that X is anywhere, not endpoint, midpoint, perpendicular, but anywhere near my mouse. So basically, I can eyeball it here and plant it on the screen there. So the near point snap is very, very useful when you don't want to position it exactly, and the other snaps aren't working for you. So let's move this into position here somewhere. Let's move these faucets into position here. This is I guess that's the shower. I don't think I need this one because that one is part of the sink there. So I'm going to erase this one here. And here, this vanity did not come with a countertop. So I'm going to go ahead to home and draw a rectangle. And draw a rectangle using dimensions that is 24 inches long and 30 inches wide. And then I'll move it. Use the M for move command. Lost it there. So this would be a dimension here. 24, enter, 30, enter, and then basically click on the screen. Then move it. M is for move this from that corner to this corner. And then I'll move this. Let's see where the insertion point. The insertion point is in the middle of that sink. So I will move this. I can click on this and grab the grip and snap it to the middle of this line here. And then I'll basically move it back a certain distance. I'll move this back to the left. And I want ortho turned on. I don't want to basically move it randomly, but I want to make it move straight to the left. So I'm going to turn ortho on here so that it moves directly to the left. And I'll type 6 for 6 inches. I'll come back to it and do another 6 inches. So it's approximately that location. I'll do the same here. Here, it's using the end of that faucet here, or that shower head. So I will basically rotate it first. RO is rotate, enter, click, enter, click any corner, and type, or you can pick. You can type or pick. So if I move my mouse around in circles, I can pick that orientation there, right there, and click on the screen. I can then move this to the middle of the tub. So M is for move, click, enter, grab the middle of that shower head there, and place it perfectly in the middle of this. And you'll know you're in the middle when you see the icon for the triangle. That's the midpoint snap. There, you've got that one there. It looks like this is a little bit off. I'm going to move and drag my mouse through both these items here. Hit enter. And go from that corner to that corner. Make it perfectly in that corner there. So now I've got a tub with the shower head, a vanity with the faucet, and a toilet in this room. Now we're looking at this file and realizing that there could be a divider wall between the toilet and the tub, and they like to put a 6-inch wall here. Now, that 6-inch wall is not part of the interior designer's role. It should be part of the architectural drawing. The architectural drawing is this file here, which happens to be an XREF. So normally, you'd have to wait for the architect to send you a revised file. And once that file is sitting in the folder where this file was previously located and replaces this file here, this XREF file, then next time you open this file, you'll see those changes show up right away. If you have to make changes to the AutoCAD file, you get two options. Either change the XREF in this file or change the XREF's original file. I could go find the file, this hotel file, and fix the original file, save it there, and those changes will show up in this file. Or I can try to change them in this file. So I can basically click on the XREF here and do edit in place. Choose the file I'm changing. I'm changing the file called Hotel Suite XREF. So you see, you're not changing the file I'm in right now. You're changing the file that's used as an XREF. This file exists outside of the drawing you're currently in. It's in a folder somewhere. So if I edit that file, I can come in here basically and let me draw a line from here to here. Let me copy that line to the right 6 inches. Let me draw a line from the top of here to top of here. And let me use trim, TR for trim, and cut that off. So there, I made changes to the X references. And basically, I'm done. And if I want to save these changes, I basically go here to Save Changes. And it'll change the XREF. Save. All edits will be saved. So the change will change the X reference. So if I go out to my folder, I go File Open, and I open up this file here called Hotel Suite XREF, that file will look different because I just made a change to it. So I didn't have to open it. I made a change in my current file of that file. This is not something I would suggest you typically do in an office environment. Normally, you want to make those kinds of changes in the original file itself, but this is kind of a workaround. So you have two options: either change that file directly or change it inside of the current file using, click on the XREF, the X reference in place, edit command. And that's how you can do that work. Now, your drawing could have multiple X references, and it might be useful for you to detach them at some point, to remove them from the file you're working in, or to make some type of update to them. Basically, show the latest version of that AutoCAD file, XREF, in your current file. Because typically, those changes only show up when you close the file and reopen it. So if you're in the XREF, if you're in the Insert tab, X references are here, and you get a little down arrow. Click on that down arrow, and here's a list of all the X references that are currently in your file. So it says here that currently you have this file called drawing number 1 opened, and the XREF here has been loaded into your project. If I grab this little button here, the corner of the window, and stretch it out, you'll see the information here that's present. So here it says that the XREF is called Hotel Suite XREF. It's been loaded. I can see it. And here's the date that it was attached. And here is the folder where that file is located. So this is the directory where next time AutoCAD opens this file called, I haven't given this file a name yet, assignment number 1. When it opens this file that currently I'm in, it'll look in this folder, find that XREF, and bring it into this project as a preview. And so this is where it'll find it. If it cannot locate that CAD file, then it'll give you a warning that it could not load that file. Some cases, it'll disappear because maybe the file name changed. Maybe this file got erased. Maybe this file got moved to a different folder. So It's a very specific address on your computer where it's looking for that file, and it'll search it out whenever you start this project, this current file you're in. And so here's a save, what they call the saved path. If this folder moved, got relocated, then you simply choose the saved path here. You click on those three buttons. And here you basically point to the location of that file. So if the file changed names, you pick on the new name and hit open. If it changed the folder, you navigate to the folder that the file is located in, you choose it and you hit open. You're basically changing the address and or name of the file using this method. Now, the other techniques of doing this work is to simply click on the X reference, right click, and do it here. So open will open up the X reference file. So currently, it's going to open a file called John Suite XREF, Hotel Suite XREF. So here, for example, in the background, I've opened up a file called Hotel Suite XREF. It's here. It has its own tab. If I close the tab, it closes the file. Right click, I can unload it. If I chose unload, it unloads just the XREF, but leaves everything else on the screen. Again, these are tools that are not available to blocks. This is a very sophisticated set of commands that are available exclusively for XREF. So there, you can see the blocks are still on the screen. This has been unloaded. It's like an on-off switch. Reload will refresh the screen with the latest version of the file. So if someone in the office were to update the file, you will see those changes immediately as soon as you reload the latest, greatest copy of that file from the folder. Detach means it's gone for good. It's erased, basically. So you're completely eliminating the file from existence in this current AutoCAD file. So you only want to do that if, in fact, the project is over and you want to completely end that X reference's existence in your current project. Bind transforms an XREF into a block. Now, sometimes that might be useful, but more often than not, it's not very useful because once you turn the XREF into a block, that block resides in your current project. It's no longer in a folder outside of your project that can be accessed by multiple people. That file is still out there, but you won't see revisions made to that file because you've turned it into a block and the blocks get edited using the block editor only inside the current file you're working in. So I suggest you don't use bind unless you really, really have to. XREF type is set for attach because it's going to bring in the floor plan and any XREFs inside the floor plan file. They all come with, they all become visible. Overlay means basically bring in the XREF, but don't bring any additional XREFs that file might have inside of it. You might bring an architectural file over, but the architect's drawings might include plumbing, mechanical, electrical, structural information, and those other XREFs might be useful to you or not. So in case they're not useful, do an overlay. The XREF of the AutoCAD comes in from the architect, and the other files do not come over. Otherwise, attach, you see all of them. And the rest of these aren't really that important, but select a new path is basically the same thing as selecting the name down here and choosing the three buttons to basically change the directory of your file if it moved, for example. And so those are all the other aspects that are possible using the XREF command. And by the way, again, the shortcut is XREF. You simply type XREF and you're in this menu immediately as opposed to having to go into insert and choose a little down arrow right there and then access the menu that way. So I find it faster to simply type the command. And that completes this little exercise on the use of X references in AutoCAD.